Why should anyone forgive anything? But most importantly, why should you forgive anything? For many ages, philosophers, theologians, and even politicians have taught us that forgiveness is a moral imperative. But when it comes to your personal hurt, to everything that you've suffered, that doesn't sum up to much. It doesn't really help to know that you should forgive. And this is why today I want to talk about the need to forgive. And most importantly, I want to talk about the psychological reasons that help you organize and recognize and embrace that need. So, why should you forgive? Firstly, let me tell you a little story. Imagine that you are a landscape artist and you have been summoned to design and to realize a beautiful, amazing garden. But the owner of the garden tells you that there are no do-overs, no repairments, no switches, no cuts. Once you've placed a plant or an object somewhere, that's where it has to stay. Could you be able to do it? Would it be terribly frustrating? Probably. But what would the result be like? Because in a way, everything that happens in our inner world is the work of a landscape artist. We are our own psychological landscape artists, designing our inner worlds. But if there are no do-overs, if any mistake is to never be forgotten and forgiven, the result might be terrible. And I'm not even talking about the situations where you have to ask for forgiveness. I'm mostly talking about the situations when you are the one who is able to offer forgiveness. Because forgiveness is the key ingredient for healing and for growing in many situations. Psychological studies have shown that after middle age, people who practice forgiveness on a regular basis proved to have less physical health issues and more psychological and emotional balance. Less heart disease problems, less illness and coronary disease and so on. Why is that? I think that we can reasonably assume that forgiveness is not only a way of letting go of past hurt, but also a way of re-establishing inner balance. So unforgiving can become in time a sort of psychological poison. It builds and it builds inside you, turning into a very important inner source of illness. It's nothing mystical or esoteric about it. The problem with unforgiveness is that the person who refuses or is unable to forgive goes back thinking about the past hurt, reliving it, and re-traumatizing himself or herself every time. And that is a very important source of unhappiness. So this is a very important reason to forgive. You need to forgive in order to heal. You need to forgive in order to re-establish, to rebuild relationships. As Harvard study has already proven, relationships are one very important ingredient, or maybe element, or maybe a very important piece of the puzzle of happiness. We don't know whether people who are in very satisfactory relationships are happier, or on the contrary, people who are happier are more thought over and more involved in our relationships. But what we do know is that happiness correlates with satisfactory relationships. And relationships are live organisms. Relationships have their own lives, with do-overs and with forgiveness. It's been so many times that we've hurt the people who are closest to us that it's not difficult to understand and to remember how it feels like to realize that you've ruined something so valuable. So in order to be happy, but even more than that, in order to be healthy, in order to survive, we need forgiveness. We need to be able to let go of the past. We need to be able to start over and build again. We need to be able to forget, or at least to better understand and to leave behind all the hurt, all the pain, everything that's keeping us trapped. Because unforgiveness is like a psychological trap. It keeps you in the past. It keeps you going back over and over to the moment where you've been traumatized. And letting go of that is forgiving. So this is why we may speak of forgiveness as one way of surviving in a world where there are no perfect relationships, no perfect lives. In a way where learning comes with mistakes, and mistakes often hurt others. And on a more subtle note, forgiveness is a reason for survival at our most inner core, because there is no more difficult forgiveness than self-forgiving. And this is why I am pleading with you to start on a journey towards learning to embrace, to accept, and to grow your own need to forgive.